Okay, I think we got it. Yep, I don't see no. It's not showing me live. Hold on. Okay, yep, we're live. We're live. All right, all right.
Hallelujah. We
Let me
did
go.
it.
Let me go ahead and share this real quick. Give me 1 second.
No worries.
All right, I tagged you in it also. All right, all right. There we go. Let me bring it up. Oh, got it up here, and let me bring it on my YouTube on my iPad. I'm gonna get this thing started. Come on, YouTube, YouTube. YouTube. All right, got it up on my YouTube, got it up on my Facebook. All right, I'm gonna play the intro and then I'm gonna play a song, give the people time to get up in here.
Sounds like a plan, brother.
All right, here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Say you love me, you don't love me, why you change on me? Keep a on my side, it won't change on me. Shout out, please, that's my brother, he won't fold on me. And if it come down to it, he a for me. This tricky, seeing how these other niggas move. Gotta keep my head on the swivel, gotta play it smooth. Know I can die anything, so I ain't afraid to lose. I'm knee deep up in this water, gotta stick and move.
All right, all right. Let me play this song. Yo, those of you that's tuned in, please share the live. We're gonna get started right after this song.
No, Rick made a motherfucking slap in here.
You know Young Rick made this shit.
When life get hard on you.
Sometimes life get hard, man. Sometimes you just gotta slow. Damn. You feel me?
When life get hard on you. All you have to do is slow it down.
Slow down.
Cause you know God got you. I learned my lessons in the streets, so a nigga like me had to slow down.
Slow down.
The devil see I'm hard to read, so he try to keep my name up in your mouth.
Yo, bow.
Quit talking stuff about me.
Quit talk.
It ain't gon' get you what you need.
Hold up, slow down, take a second, cause this the wrong name. You niggas been disrespecting. I'm a cool nigga, but sometimes a cold weapon. I thank God for giving me that soul blessing. I've been soul catching. Some niggas is so threatened that I'm a fisher of men and y'all niggas just fish catching. Man, use your blessing, I use mine to teach lesson. I always had the gift to spit, it was who's checking. God kept sending me kids, I get the message that the youth is the juice that I needed to stop stressing. God always been in my life, you're my protection. When all glory goes to him, now that's perfection.
When life get hard on you, all you have to do is slow it down.
Slow down.
Cause you know God got you. I learned my lessons in the streets, so a nigga like me had to slow down.
Slow down.
The devil see I'm hard to read, so he try to keep my name up in your mouth.
Yo, bow.
Quit talking stuff about me.
Quit talk.
It ain't gon' get you what you need.
You don't know love, then you don't know God. But if you do, you can spread it with the rest of the block. We all the sheep, no need to compete with the rest of the flock. Just do what's working, never thirst, we give you water from rock. He's always there when I need him, he's a hell of a pop. And even there when I wasn't, when my son got shot. Now slow down, I think that's a hell of a plot. But it still doesn't mean you can't give all that you got. See, God got you, man, you can believe me or not. Or you can slow down now, or you can come to a stop. See, God got you, man, you can believe me or not. Or you can slow down now, or you can come to a stop, you feel me?
When life get hard on you, all you have to do is slow it down.
Slow down.
Cause you know God
All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Not Afraid to Lose sports podcast, y'all. I got a very, very great interview coming up by a great friend of mine. So we're going to go ahead and get that started. You want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you from and how was your upbringing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I am grateful, privileged, and honored to be sharing this space with you, Sir Macalot. So thank you so much for allowing me in your space this Monday evening. But yeah, I guess a little bit about myself. I am born and raised in the great city of Stockton, California, the 209. I graduated from Bear Creek High School, class of 2000. And I just realized my blue tie right now. This is our Bruin blue at Bear Creek. And I didn't even plan that. Look at that. So
shout out Bear Creek. My son graduated from there also.
Hey, there you go. There you go. See, great people. Bear Creek has produced some great people, some visionary people, leaders.
Definitely.
It's also produced some, not so good fruit. But hey, that's every school. All right. But yes, I bleed Stockton. It will always be my hometown. I always, will always have love for the 209, regardless of what's happening in the city. And shout out to the Stockton Kings, by the way, too. The Stockton Kings punched their ticket to the G League Finals for the second consecutive year. They are the defending G League champions as well. So since this podcast is about sports, I just thought I'd throw that in there, even though the Stockton Kings weren't there when I was growing up in Stockton.
No, at all.
We didn't have the Stockton King. For basketball, when I was growing up in Stockton, we had the UOP Tigers.
UOP, yep.
Their men's basketball program was really, really good in the 90s. You had Michael Olowokandi was taken number 1 overall. He came out of UOP in 98, I think that was. But so that was as close as we got to professional basketball in Stockton growing up. But yeah.
So,
go ahead.
Did you ever play any sports yourself? If so, what sports did you play growing up?
I did play sports growing up, but I ain't gonna lie, I was trash.
I was
like, you got the person at the end of the bench, and then you have like the water boy, and then you have like the equipment manager, and then you had me. Like I was at the bottom of the totem pole. I was like that kid. If the coach, literally, if we were down to like 4 players on the basketball team and the coach needed 1 more player to go in to make 5, or we would have to forfeit the game, he would look at me and say, all right, we just going to have to forfeit this one.
We just going to have to forfeit.
We going to have to forfeit. We not putting Kevin in there. So, of course I kid. But yeah, I played football, basketball, and I ran track. I ran hurdles at Bear Creek. And
you was pretty good on track, though, I thought, wasn't you?
I was actually decent at track, yes.
I remember you from track. I'm class of 2002, but I'm an E-House baby, though.
Edison, all the way. The Vikings, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Much love for the Vikings. Yeah, man. Speaking of hurdles, I actually got second in the whole section in the 300 hurdles. So, hurdles were my baby. I went all the way to the section meet with hurdles. But that was really the only sport I was good at. And that was just because I knew how to jump over a hurdle. Well, I knew how to strategically get over a hurdle with great form.
Coming from Stockton, we learned how to jump over fences and all that stuff. Either running from dogs or running from, in my case, running from the police and stuff like that. We learned how to jump.
That is true. And you know what? Going metaphorically speaking, Macalon, I'm gonna take it up a step. In Stockton, we obviously know how to jump over adversity and to jump over barriers and to jump over problems or issues that manifest in front of us. So I think me jumping over hurdles in high school, that was just a symbol of all the things I had to jump over in the city of Stockton to get to where I'm at. All the adversity I had to jump over, all the opposition I had to jump over, the haters I had to jump over, and any and everything that was to my detriment that I had to jump over. So I guess you could say I've been leaping over hurdles my whole life.
Your whole life. Definitely. Man, I understand that for real. Let me see. I know you did a little bit of acting. What made you get into acting? You want to tell us what made you get into acting?
Yeah, absolutely. What inspired me to go to entertainment route? First of all, I was always a class clown all throughout high school. You know, I was always a class clown. And part of that was because I didn't really take school serious. I took it serious enough, but I wouldn't say that I took it as serious as I should have. So my outlet was always comedy. My outlet was always performing. My outlet was always anything oratorical. So, you know, it's funny. I was a kid in class. You know how the teacher would always count on a kid to read or to pretend. I was always the one with my hand up. I'll read this. I'll do this. I just always enjoyed performing, shall I say, even if it was just reading a passage out of a book. And the funny thing is, back, you know, in school, like teachers would have grading scales. You would get like maybe 30% is homework, 30% is tests and quizzes, 15% is maybe attendance, and then you would have like 15% or so that was classroom participation.
Yeah.
I would always ace any of my classroom participation. I would kill that. And oral presentations, I would kill. So to answer your question, when I went off to college, I didn't know what I was going to major in. I went off to college at Morehouse in Atlanta, Georgia. I was never a brainiac in school, so I knew I was going to like major in electrical engineering or something. So my outlet was always acting, was always performance, was always comedy. So I ended up majoring in performance arts. Actually, I was a drama English major. And then I moved to LA to pursue entertainment and acting because that was the only other thing that I knew. And that's kind of what inspired me to go that path.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's where you disappeared to, because I didn't see you for some years. So you disappeared and you moved to LA. And then by the next time I saw you, it was on reality TV. So I guess you did pretty good with your acting, because you did star in a very popular reality show. You want to let people know how that came about and what reality show it was to the older people here that remember reality TV before the Love and Hip Hop.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, I was on a reality show right around the time when reality TV started becoming big. We call it the golden era reality TV. And I happened to be on a show around that era. It was in 2007. I did this show on VH1. It was called I Love New York. It was a spinoff of Flavor of Love. And for those who are unfamiliar with Flavor of Love or I Love New York, think of like a ghetto version of The Bachelor. That's essentially, or the ratchet version of The Bachelor.
Yeah, exactly.
That's essentially what it is. So I will say that was probably my best acting role to this date, because I had to pretend and act like I was in love with New York. So that was serious. But no, I say that jokingly. I got nothing but love.
I definitely got that coming up. I want to wait on that just a little bit, all right? Because I got something like that coming up that will you be able to tell us all that. So with that, how did that come about? How did you get, did you have like some kind of agent, or did you just hear about it and go for the role yourself, or it just was presented to you?
Yeah, so good question. I actually, while I was in Los Angeles working as an actor, I was on several websites that would post acting submissions or auditions or gigs, whether it's commercials, film, hosting, reality. So I would always scour and go through all of these websites to look at gigs every day. You had LA Casting, Now Casting, Central Casting,
Craigslist,
Actors Access, all of these things out there. But I anytime there was a gig on Craigslist, you always got to be careful with those ones. Those were always a little suspect. Yeah. But hey, I actually found a few gigs on Craigslist, so I can't knock it too much. But yeah, so while I was while I was scouring those one day, I saw this submission, and it was a show called The Flavorettes. And I was like, The Flavorettes, what the heck is this? And at the time, I Love New York did not have a name. It was a working title. So it was, at the time, it was just called The Flavorettes, and that's what the submission was. So I was like, all right, screw this. I got nothing to lose. So I submitted for that. And they actually called me in for an interview. And keep in mind, at this time, there was not a lot of information about the show because it was a show that they were still putting together. And it was a show that they were still kind of piloting, and it was in its infancy. So I didn't know what it was. So they ended up calling me and they said, Kevin, we want you to come in for this interview for this show called the Flavorettes. Now, the funny thing is, I had gotten my wisdom teeth pulled. This was a day before my interview. So a day before my interview, I had all 4 of my wisdom teeth pulled at the same time. So my cheeks are just inflated. I'm looking like a chipmunk that's high on some kind of drug. So I go in the day after this. My cheeks are swollen. I'm still a little dazed because I'm on Vicodin and all of this stuff. So I'm like, man, there's no way these guys are going to be interested in me. So I go in for my interview and with the producers of the show. And apparently they liked something about me because they called me back again. And they were like, we really like you. So they had me do all of this information. I had to they sent me like a packet of things to do. I had to get like testing done, medical testing. So they had to screen me for like STIs, hepatitis. They had to screen me for all of these things. So I was like, this is interesting. Then I had to go through a psychological exam. So I had to sit down with the psychologist and speak to them for like 2 or 3 hours. Then I had to take a psychological written exam and do all I'm like, wow, this is a whole lot just for a show. So then they called me again. After I go through all of this, I pass all these tests and they call me back and they say, Kevin, we want to select you for the show. So I was like, okay, well, what is it? And they were like, okay, you're going to be in a mansion living with other guys, but there was still a lot of limited information. So right around that time, I was cast in a touring play because I was doing acting and I love theater. So it was a touring play that I was cast as the lead character in. So the play was touring. So I was like, oh, so I asked them when I got cast in this, I was like, well, look, I just got cast in a touring show. Can I do both? And they were like, no, you have to do this show. And I was like, well, I don't know. It's, this is a really good play that I want to do. So I'll never forget this. The producer of the show said, Kevin, would you like to be seen by 1,000 people every night or by 5 million people every night? And I was like, I'll go with the 5 million. So they were like, well, let's do the show. So they took me into this. So when I booked the show, they took me to a hotel first. I was sequestered in a hotel for about 3 days. And I had to go through a series of interviews. And then that's when they kind of told me about the show, the premise of the show. It was going to be a dating competition, et cetera, et cetera. So then after we're in this hotel, they narrow it down from 25 contestants to 20 contestants. So 5 people had to pack their bags and end up going home. Fortunately, I was not one of those. So they move us into the mansion. And then next thing I know, I'm in there. New York comes down and I'm like, okay, this is the show. I love New York. We're really doing this. All right.
Now at this time, had you been watching Flavor of Love to kind of get a feel, to know a kind of a feel of what this show is kind of about?
I definitely did my research. I Googled some, I at that time, Google was out and I think YouTube was getting popular. So I looked up some Flavor of Love stuff and I did my research on who New York was. Because, see, I wasn't a diehard avid watcher of Flavor of Love, but I had heard of New York because I had a lot of friends who were obsessed with Flavor of Love. So they would talk about it, and then they knew who New York was and stuff. So I was talking to them like, so who is this girl? So I did my research, and I was like, wow. So that's the girl right there that I have to be fighting other guys over. This is going to be interesting. So yeah, while I wasn't an avid watcher of Flavor of Love, I was familiar with the show because it was popular. I mean, it was pop culture.
Yeah.
And I came to find out the persona of Tiffany New York Pollard.
Yeah, and I watched it every night it came on. I watched Flavor of Love. That was like the thing to do, chill. That was like Power back in the days. That was the Power back in the days, or the what's that new one, Black Love, or whatever that new Tyler Perry one is. I ain't watched it yet, but it was like that, So I definitely watched it all the time, and I always wondered, like, man, how New York get her own show? Like she didn't even win. Like how did she get her own show? But it was her. It was her. She sold herself. She was very entertaining, I believe, and so that was a good thing that you ended up making. And I was like, I know that dude, man. I know that dude from Stockton. When I seen you on there, and you went by the name of Bones. Did New York actually name you, or did the directors, or is that something that you came up with yourself? Bones.
Yeah. So funny you mentioned that. So while we were sequestered in this hotel for 3-4 days before going on the show, the producers would come in every day and talk to us. We would have to do some interviews and things of that sort. So one of the times when the producers and I, when they were interviewing me while I was in this hotel, they asked me, they were like, Kevin, have you had any nicknames throughout your life? And I was like, yeah. In high school, they used to call me Stickman. Actually, when I was on the football team, they used to call me Sticks. So I was like, all throughout my life, my nickname has either been Stickman, Sticks, Sticky Icky, Twigs. So I was like, I've always been given nicknames that correlate to me being skinny. So when they had heard about Sticks and all of that other stuff, Stickman, they're like, okay, well, Bones, you're bony. Bones is another kind of thing. So when I told them about my skinny nicknames, they had spoken with New York about that. And then they came up with Bones together because she called me her bag of bones or something like that. So
I do remember that one of the episodes she called you a bag of bones.
Yeah.
So now this is where I wanted to get to. How real was that reality show? Was any of it scripted? Most of it scripted, or it was, or was it really reality?
Yeah. So there were no scripts. I was, they didn't script anything, shall I say, but, they definitely did a good job at inspiring situations or instigating situations or instigating conflict and things of that sort, putting us in situations where there could be conflict. So they did a phenomenal job of doing that and being able to tell stories while doing that. But you have to realize too, a lot of people who were on that show were going on there to be a caricature. So you had people on there that were likely acting like caricatures and trying to be something that they're not, or just trying to put on for the cameras or to try to ham it up a little bit. So I guess if there's any quote unquote fake and not reality, one could assume that some of these people who were putting on these acts and caricatures that, that was kind of hammed up for the camera because, people are looking for that 15 minutes. They're looking for that shine. And I would be a liar if I didn't say I didn't go on that show for publicity and things of that sort. So you have a lot of people who went on there with that in mind. But I, it definitely was not scripted. And as far as New York goes, she's actually a really nice person. Away from the camera, she's super chill, super down to earth, really cool person all around. But I'll say this, when the cameras come around, she knows how to turn from Tiffany into New York. And that's why people watch, because they love New York. They love the character that she built on Flavor of Love. And she definitely knows how to ham that up for the cameras. But Tiffany's a really chill, cool person.
So was anybody on there really looking for love? And did anybody on there really like her? Like really, did y'all want to? I'm sure people wanted to win, but did you want to win? Was winning? Well, basically, what I'm saying, winning. Was it a real relationship? Like I think who won? Boston.
So the season I was on, Tango. He won. He was a bigger dude. He won, and Chance was the runner-up. So it's interesting. Like, yeah, I can't really speak for other guys on their motives for being there. I do know for a fact some guys really were not that interested in Tiffany or New York, as they were more interested in being on the show and trying to garner celebrity status and things of that sort. Because you had people on the show who were there trying to push their music careers, and they were there for that, or trying to push other careers. So, some people did utilize that in a way to propel the platforms they already had. and no judgment to any person who went on there for that. So to answer your question, yes, there were certain people on there who were more interested in garnering fame than trying to meet a young lady and fall in love. But just to play devil's advocate, let's be real. If you're truly looking for love, are you going to go on national TV where there's cameras in your face 24 hours if you're genuinely looking for an authentic connection? Maybe. I could be wrong. I don't know everything.
I don't know, Kev, because we had just last month we was talking about, I had been posting I'm looking for a wife, and we was planning on doing a show sort of like that, for the love of Mac. And and I kind of genuinely am looking for love. So some people could be really looking for love on that note, but we never got to the whole thing of my reality show. But it's kind of still up in the air though. It's definitely still up in the air. But some people did actually prosper from being on there. Definitely like Chance and Real, R.I.P. to Real. They ended up doing Real Chance of Love, right? And also they was rappers too, the Stallionaires. Also, shout out to Big Juan from Jam ENT. I know he did some things with them. So with that being said, how did that help move you forward? Did that open any doors for you? Did that having that limelight, that spotlight, open up any doors for you moving forward?
Yeah, really good question. First of all, shout out to Real and Chance. Real unfortunately lost his battle to cancer. Ahmad Givens, but Ahmad was really awesome person, really nice dude. And that was tragic to see that happen. Same thing with Chance, really nice guy. And some of these guys, a lot of these guys I've hung out with outside of I Love New York. So I've gotten to know quite a few of these guys. There's some of those guys I still talk to this day.
I was going to ask you that too. Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as opening doors, yes, some people clearly profited from the show. Some people were able to do bigger and better things. I wouldn't necessarily say that the show opened up a lot of doors for me, but on the same token, I wouldn't necessarily say that this show hurt me. Of anything, this show did give me a platform, and I definitely met a lot of people. It brought a lot of new people into my circles, and it definitely taught me the importance and emphasis of networking and establishing connections. But the problem is, not everybody who wants to be in your circle is good for you. So it brought certain people in my circle who were takers and not givers. So it kind of exposes a lot of people to you as well. So yeah, it definitely opened up some doors for me. I was given a lot of opportunities to do cool things like host events, MC shows, and do a lot of cool things like that. And really just to enhance my entertainment repertoire. It gave me a lot of opportunity. I went around the nation, being featured at various events. I did a lot of speaking engagements with kids and the youth. And that's one thing that I really enjoyed more than anything. I didn't realize how many kids and teens watch this show. Because obviously if you know this show, it's a show for adults, 18 on up, but I didn't realize how much the youth watched it. So I understood my impact on the youth, and I understood my responsibility to the youth. So I really enjoyed the fact that this gave me an opportunity to connect with youth and to influence youth and inspire youth in positive ways. So I would probably say that's the most rewarding thing that's come out of this for me, is to be able to be a light to the youth and inspire them in so many different ways.
So let me ask you this. Was you guys paid, or was it just like an exposure thing?
We were paid, but I'll tell you this, it's nothing to ooh or ah at as far as the dollars we made off of it.
Oh, okay. Definitely. Hey, that's a great story, man. I'm glad because you made it a long way. You made it through the series. What, like top 10 or something like that?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I got eliminated I got eliminated in the 4th episode. I actually got eliminated early. I think there was around 10 or 11 guys after I was eliminated, and we started off with 20 guys. So
Yeah.
I guess you could say I made it kind of halfway through. But yeah, still early on. But it's interesting. New York eliminated me because she said she didn't want to corrupt me. She said I was a nice person, and I had a lot of respect for that. She could have said a lot of negative things about me, but she was really respectful, and she eliminated me in a very respectful manner. So,
so to this day, do anybody ever come up to you and say, Bones, do they recognize you from that? Definitely got to be some people that's a little older. Well, you said kids was watching, so I guess they could be around early 30s, 40s. Do anybody do you still get recognized for that character?
So funny you should say that. I was in Dallas this weekend for a wedding. One of my mentees was getting married. So I'm out there Friday night, hanging out at a restaurant with some friends, and 2 people come up to me and they were like, I love New York, Bones. It just came up to me and said that. And I was like, and so I was playing dumb. I was like, oh, I love New York. I was like, oh yeah, I love New York as well. The Empire State Building, you got out there, great city. I love a lot about New York. And they were like, oh, so you're not Bones. And I was like, Bones? I was like, well, the average human male has like 206 bones in their body. So I'm just being silly. And they were like, no. They were like, me and my date, we were literally at our table Googling you because they told me they saw me in the restaurant. So they were on their phones Googling to make sure that it was me. And they literally showed me their phones. And they were like, yes, that is you, because we were looking up you while we were at the table. So I spoke to them for about 20 to 30 minutes about being on the show. And they were just intrigued about it. And they were fascinated about it. And they were like, no way. So to answer your question, yes, it still happens randomly, though. I mean, it doesn't happen like the way it did back in 2007, 2008, 2009, when I would get recognized almost daily. So it still does happen, but more seldomly than frequently.
You getting a little older, man. You might not look the same no more, man. We get a little older, you might not look the same no more. Cause you was in your that was 20 years ago, man. You was in your early 20s back then.
Yeah. I was 24 when I did the show, and I actually had a hairline back then too. So a lot has changed.
So after that, what brought you into doing the sportcasting for ABC 10?
Yeah. So, after I did the show, I went and did a few other reality shows. I did another show called I Love Money, which was on VH1.
I Love Money. You was in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was on the 2nd season of I Love Money. And so I kind of stayed in the reality stratosphere for a while. So I would do little reality show gigs here and there. And then when that kind of died down, I was still trying to get acting gigs from and I did book some commercials and cool things like that. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed booking commercials. I enjoyed film opportunities. I was also working as a substitute teacher, a track coach, and a DJ at this time. So I had multiple jobs that I was doing to help supplement my acting career and my entertainment career. Because, I would get gigs, but sometimes the gigs were far and few between. So I had to still make sure I was paying rent and paying my bills and my car insurance, everything else that I needed. So, while working as a teacher and a track coach and a DJ, I was still pursuing entertainment. But I got to a point, I had been living out there around 10, 11 years. And I was, my early 30s at this time, or I just turned 30. And I was like, all right, well, the grind is not paying off. The hustle is not paying off. So I was like, okay, let me reinvent myself or figure out something else. Around this time, I started hosting for an online network. It was called AfterBuzz TV. So I did entertainment hosting for them. So I would do host movie premieres. I would be a correspondent at red carpet events and all kinds of entertainment events that would go on. I would go out there and host for them. So that right there kind of planted the seed of journalism to me and being a broadcaster. So I did that for a couple of years, and I was doing this for free. This was not a paid gig. It was a volunteer gig, but I wanted to learn. So I did that. And then on that network that I was working at, or shall I say volunteering at, they opened up a sports division. So I started hosting sports programming for them. So I was having all kinds of sports stars on my show, doing all kinds of stuff. And I really enjoyed it. And I was like, you know what? I want to learn more about sportscasting, broadcasting, being a journalist. So I actually ended up, I ended up going back to school later to get my master's in communications and journalism.
And
But
not to cut you off, Craig, you said that because that was my next question I was going to ask. Did you have to go to broadcasting school to become a sportscaster? If so, how long did you have to go? You're right on track to my questions.
hey, look at that. See, that means you have some great questions then, because
Yeah,
one
I
is
gotta
leading
find
to the
out.
next.
Hey, I'm getting good. I'm getting pretty good at this.
Absolutely. I should watch out.
Hey,
You may be coming
I might need a reference, man, to ABC soon, man.
I got your back. I will
Okay.
give you a great character reference. You
For sure.
say less. But yeah, so to answer your question, I actually got my first 3 jobs in journalism came without my broadcasting degree. So my first gig in journalism, I was in Little Rock, Arkansas. I worked as a sports anchor there. And interesting, they were the only station. I had applied to like 200 plus stations across the nation. Only heard back from like 3 or 4. So that's another good thing. If you want to be in this career or anything in life, rejection is inevitable. But you have to work hard for whatever it is that you want. And you have to endure rejection. You have to know that every rejection is closer to acceptance, whether it's in journalism, whether it's asking a girl out for a date, whatever it is, it's a numbers game. The more you try, the more success you will have. So my first job was Little Rock, Arkansas. I was there for a couple of years, or a year or so. Then went down to Mississippi, Meridian, Hattiesburg, because I would cover stories from them while working in Little Rock. Then I got my next gig at Tyler, Texas. I was there for about 2.5 years. And then I moved to Sacramento, to the station here. So I did all that without my journalism degree. It was actually shortly after I moved to Sacramento that I ended up getting my master's in journalism and communications, because I realized I wanted to be in this field for a long time. And I also knew that at some point down the line, I wanted to get into academia and be an educator. So that was another reason. But to answer your question, you do not need a journalism degree to be in this field. As long as you understand the craft, as long as you hone the craft, as long as you follow the code of ethics and do ethical journalism, then you don't need a degree in this field, as long as you know what you're doing, know how to do the job. I taught myself how to shoot. I taught myself how to write. I taught myself how to edit. I taught myself how to produce. So a lot of things that I learned in this business were self-taught. So as long as you have just an unwavering level of tenacity and ambition, you can make it happen.
Yeah, so you kind of pretty much answered my next question with all that, because I wanted to ask, did you start right away as one of the lead sport reporters, or did you have to grind and work your way up? So you had to go from probably smaller stations to bigger stations to even bigger stations to get where you at today, right? Because
Absolutely.
ABC is like one of your biggest ones. I'm sure it's a lot bigger than the Arkansas one or the Mississippi one. So you had to really put in the work and grind your way up, definitely without a degree in broadcasting or journalism.
Yeah, 100%. You know, when I got my first job in Arkansas, I knew that was going to be temporary. I knew that was a stepping stone to get me to where I was at. So while I was there, I tried to learn everything. I didn't care if I wasn't the main sports anchor. I didn't care if I wasn't the main person on the desk. I didn't care if I didn't have billboards. I didn't care if I didn't have promos. I was just there to learn. I wanted to learn, be a sponge, and understand the field, understand the trait, understand everything that I could understand to be the best sportscaster I can possibly be. So when I started off at some of these smaller stations, the goal wasn't to be the number one sports anchor or whatever. The goal was to learn. And the goal was to understand, learn, and hone my craft. So one day I could get to the point where maybe I can be a sports director or the lead sports anchor at a station. I was more or less concerned with trying to be the guy as I was more concerned with trying to learn how to be the guy and learn how to be great. Because I think a lot of times we just want to come into a field and be great, which sure, that's a great thing, but there's levels to this. And you have to go up those levels, and you have to treat every level intricately and delicately with the respect that it deserves. You can't rush anything. This business is a marathon, not a sprint. And if you try to sprint through this or sprint through anything in your life, you're going to leave a lot of things out.
Behind, you're gonna miss some steps. Yeah, you jump over.
You're gonna miss some steps.
You jump over 3 steps. Hey, you may need whatever learning process was in those 3 steps that you jumped over. You may need that later on in the long run. And that leads up to my next question too. Since you wanted to learn and learn all these steps, did you look up to anybody in the broadcasting world? Like anybody inspired you? Like, I want to learn, so I need to start watching them. Because I coach football, and I always tell my players, go watch people. Like, you want to be a running back? Go watch Barry Sanders. Go watch Walter Payton. You want to be a receiver? Pull up YouTube. Go watch Jerry Rice. Go watch Randy Moss. So, was there anybody that you like inspired? Like, okay, I want to be like him. R.I.P. Stuart Scott, which should be a good person to look up to if you want to be a sports broadcaster, because that was my favorite sports broadcaster. So was it any of that? Anybody inspired you to help you get to where you at today?
You took the words out of my mouth. UNC great. And my Alpha Phi Alpha brother, the one and only, the late, great Stuart Scott. He was the first person that inspired me to do this. And the reason being is there are so many things about Stuart that is great. First of all, Stuart was somebody who dared to be different in an industry that was not ready for change. And Stuart came in there and revolutionized the sportscaster position and the job. And he revolutionized the way to present sports on air. Stuart was using slang. Cooler than the other side of the pillow. Booyah.
He was like the E40. He was like the E40 of sports broadcasters. Shakalaka, boom, shakalaka. He was coming up with that slang on you. But go ahead, continue.
No, you're 100% right. Stuart was somebody who dared to be different. But most importantly, the thing that inspired me about Stuart was he was never afraid to be himself. And I think this is a world where a lot of people are trying to be like somebody they're not. You always want to be the person you are. God made you the way you are for a reason. Hone into your own dopeness. Hone in to your own skill set. Hone into your own talent. God only made one of you, so don't be like anybody else. And that's what Stuart was. Stuart was always himself. Even when there were naysayers, even when there were haters, even when there were people writing into ESPN saying, get this clown off the air, he still stayed true to who he was. And I think ultimately that's what's going to get you to that next level. You have to know who you are, and you have to be unapologetic in who you are as well. And that's how Stuart embraced this. Not to mention, he was also really good as a journalist. He knew his stuff. He was very articulate. He knew the right questions to ask. He did his research. So he checked all the boxes, but he was very entertaining. So I would say of course, I like Stan Barrett, Neil Everett. There's a lot of people on ESPN. Jay Harris, who actually kind of became a mentor for me when I got into this business. So there's a lot, but Stuart obviously stands out.
And I brought Stuart Scott up because I be watching some of your broadcasts, and I'll be like, he definitely know who Stuart Scott is. I hear a little Stuart in you, and then you got the light skin. You got the light skin. He still had his hairline though. You ain't got yours. Stuart still had his hairline though. But I listened to you broadcasting, and I said, yeah, he definitely came up on Stuart Scott just like I did. That was one of my favorite. He made sports broadcasting fun. Definitely being from Stockton, stuff we can relate to, the slang, the difference. And one of the first black men that really stepped out. Like he wasn't always politically correct. He was himself, and it worked for him, and I see these new sports broadcasters, and I see a little Stewart in most of them. Even some of the white guys. I see some Stuart Scott in them. So that was definitely great. So let me ask you this. Are you comfortable where you at, or is it a dream or a goal for you to like ever work for like a big sports channel like ESPN, First Take, NBA Countdown, one of the big prime time spots? Is that in your dreams or in your goals in the future?
I'd be a liar if I said I had never dreamed of making it to network. Most broadcaster or journalist, any journalist or broadcaster out there will tell you the goal is to make network, to get to net. Because when you made it to network, that's when you made it. It's like if you're a MLB player, right? You go through single A, you go through double A, you go through triple A. The dream is to get called up to the major leagues. Same thing with the NBA. You may go through the G League. You may play overseas. You want to get called up to the show. And it's the same thing with broadcasting. You start off in small markets. You go from small market to small market. You work your way up to larger markets, and then eventually you want to get to network. So, yeah, when I got into this business, that was always my goal. Now, what I've learned, Mac, a lot is to not make that my end-all, be-all. Basically saying, if I don't make it to network, then I'm a failure. Or if I don't make it to network, I'm a disappointment. No, I've learned to appreciate my journey and to be grateful for the journey and where I'm at right now, whether or not I make it to network or not. I've learned to be content to enjoy the process. And if it's in God's plan for me to make it to network, I would be happy with that. But let me also say that if that doesn't happen, I'm still happy here in Sacramento, in Northern California, in my home market. Still working and doing a lot of things. So sure, I'd be a liar if I said I didn't have aspirations, but I've learned to appreciate where I'm at right now. And, just to take it day by day, see where this journey leads me.
Yeah, definitely. Cause as a newfound journalist and interviewer myself, I did a little research on it. And I researched some of the highest paid ones that's really making, real big money. Like Tom Brady being number one, Jim Rome making 30 million. Like Jim Rome, like we don't really mess with Jim Rome like that, but he's second in tier of making that money. So I'm sure that sounds real good to somebody like you from the streets of Stockton to make anywhere. Stephen A. Smith, I think he was like number 9 at 12 million, so those millions. Hey man, that's gotta be a goal. That's gotta be, and yeah, and like you said, you okay if you don't get there, but man, that's generational change, So I'm hoping that you do one day. You still got time. Like you still young, man. You still young, man. You can do this. John Madden, RP John Madden, he done this type of stuff till he passed away at 80-something years old. So you still have a lot of time to get there. Us in Stockton, we definitely rooting for you. I see you got people out here in the chat. Shout out to B Love. She said she needs you to be her mentor. She said, let me go start working on my craft. Errol Daniels, he said, what's up, Kev? He said he went to Lincoln with you. You went to Lincoln too?
Now, I did not go to Lincoln High School, but I was at Lincoln a lot. Okay. So I was at Stagg a lot. See, I went to Bear Creek, but I used to just end up on other campuses. We would just go over there for lunchtime.
Back in those days, yeah.
Yeah, back in those days. We would go to hang out.
I used to go to Bear Creek with the homeboys, Aaron Vickers, RIP to LC. I used to go up to Bear Creek. I used to go up to Lincoln. Back in them days, that's what we used to do, go to other school campuses during their lunch and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, he said his dad was Tony White.
Oh, Tony White. Yeah, Tony White, a very prominent person in Stockton. Tony White is a Stockton legend. Actually, he should be in the Stockton Hall of Fame. But Tony White is an extraordinary human being. I remember him all throughout, and he did a lot for Stockton. I mean, he put on events, entertainment. Tony was just an instrumental voice and just a huge ambassador for the city of Stockton. And we need more Tony Whites out there who are just doing wonderful stuff in the city, putting on for the city, and just giving back, pouring back into the city.
Definitely, definitely. We got Sarita too. Sarita's in here. She said, "What's up, Kevin? Good to see you on here, friend." Sarita, the rapper, Miss X.
I know
You know her?
Sarita.
You know her?
You know, it's funny.
Or she friend?
No, me and Sarita go way back. So I used to work at Foot Action. This is how long ago. I used to work in Rubberstown Mall, and I worked at Foot Action. And Sarita and one of her friends, there was a friend of hers. I can't remember if it was her cousin or somebody. One of her friends I had a crush on. And I remember they used to come into Foot Action sometime, and I used to be, trying to, put on a front like I'm super cool working in this store and whatnot. But Sarita, that's the homie right there. And she also knows, Sarita knows, I think my brother, some of my other friends, we ran in similar circles, but she's an awesome person. I follow her on social media and whatnot. And she's doing the darn thing. So shout out Sarita.
Wow, you did work at Foot Action. Yeah, you did. I remember you at Foot Action too.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of memories is coming back. We old. I forget a lot of stuff, but I do remember you at Foot Action. Let me get to this next question. So, tell us, what do you find the most difficult part about being a sportscaster?
I would say the most difficult or the most challenging part is having to be a perfectionist. And this is one of those fields where there's not a lot of room for error. If you mess up on something, people are going to let you know. If I mess up a stat, if I say LeBron was 10 of 16 from the field, 35 points, 12 rebounds, and he came up 1 assist shy of a triple-double, and say LeBron actually had, 38 points or 40, and I got that wrong, I'm going to hear about that. Or if you mispronounce someone, say I'm doing Bucks highlights, and I say Giannis Antetokounmpo, got the shot. Well, no, his last name is Antetokounmpo. So whenever you make an error or whatnot, people will let you know because it's a very public job. So if I mess up on anything, I'm going to find out about it. So I hold myself to a high regard. Believe me, no one's harder on themselves than I am when I mess up. I'm really hard on myself when I mess up because I'm a perfectionist. But that's one of the hard things about being in this field. You have to be accurate. You have to be right. Not only that, but as journalism, viewers are counting on the information you're giving them. They're entrusting you. If they're tuning into your newscast or sportscast, they're entrusting you to give them accurate information. So I pride myself on being accurate. So when I do mess up or make errors, I get really hard on myself and other people will be hard on me. So I'd say that's the biggest challenge is probably having to be right and making sure that you are right all the time.
Definitely with all this sports betting, this prize pick underdog. Yep. We trying to find out, man. Okay, that such and such had this amount of points. Okay, we're gonna go to over. Man, you done blew my picks because you told me he scored 38 the last 5 games and he was scoring 36. So now I put over 36 and now he under because you gave us the wrong information, Kev.
There you go. And then you're going to blame me.
Yeah, we definitely going to blame you because it's a lot of money in that. I even started and got a couple hits, So I just interviewed a young female college track and field star. And she told me that one day she wanted to be a sportscaster. So what tips or inspirational things can you give to her and other young adults or the youth that would like to do what you've been doing for years?
Good question. I'll give you a few tips. Number 1, always learn. Never stop learning. The great John Wooden, the greatest basketball coach of all time, he coached for UCLA. He has a quote that says, "It's what you learn after you know it all that counts." Always be a student. You never get to a point where you know everything. You are constantly learning. That's why Tom Brady was a 7-time champion. He was constantly looking at film. Same thing with Kobe. All your greats, continue learning because there's always something to know. And once you learn it all, know it all, guess what? There's more to learn. So always continue learning. Always continue researching. Second of all, watch as much as you can. If you want to be a sportscaster, watch as many sportscasters as you can. Watch greats that do what it is that you want to do. If you want to go into the medical field, watch some of the best surgeons out there and see how they do. Read some of their articles. So immerse yourself in it. Immerse yourself in it as much as you can. Third thing that I would say to do, figure out what it is about you that is distinguished, unique, or just different from others. Everybody has something in them that's different. Everybody's unique. So while I say look at others for inspiration, don't try to emulate anybody. Be yourself. So always figure out what it is that's unique about you. Fourth thing that I would say, network, network, network. We've all heard this before. It's not who you know, or excuse me, I butchered it. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yep.
But I'm going to take it up one step further, Mac. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. So always make sure that you are networking on. I have a challenge to some of my, because I teach journalism too at CRC, Columbus River College. I always tell my students, try to send an email once a day, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's somebody you find. Send out an email once a day just to establish a new relationship with somebody in the business, to establish a connection, and make sure it's genuine. Don't just reach out to somebody because you want something. Reach out for a genuine connection, which leads me to my other step, my fifth step, find a mentor. I wasn't blessed to have a mentor coming into this, so I had to learn everything on my own. But find a mentor. Find somebody that can take you underneath their wing and teach you everything, that can look out for you, that can give you advice, that can look over your reel, that can tell you what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, that can vouch for you for jobs and things of that sort. So definitely find you a mentor. And a lot of that comes from the previous step on reaching out to people, sending LinkedIn. Next one, never be afraid of rejection. Never, ever be afraid of rejection. When it comes to working in this business, there are more people than jobs. What do I mean by that? There is more supply than demand. So rejection is inevitable, because if there's a job that's posted, you're going against 300 people for that particular job in this business, whether it's a sportscasting job, news job, whatever it is. So always know that you're going to be rejected, but that's okay. That's part of it. Embrace it. Continue working hard. My next one, and I'll say this is kind of my last one, always be kind. Be kind to everybody. And because people will remember that. People will remember how you treated them. People will remember how you made them feel. So be kind to everybody. Be genuine to everybody. Create authentic connections. And then my final thing, and this is my last thing, always be of service to people. Always be of service. The great Rick Warren, evangelist, he wrote the book Purpose Driven Life. He has this quote that I love. God determines greatness, not on how many people serve you, but by how many people you serve. And I'll say that one more time. God determines greatness, not by how many people serve you, but by how many people you serve. So always remember, true greatness comes not from followers, not from likes, not from people who come up to you. It comes from how many people you serve, how many people you help, how many people you uplift and empower. So always make sure you're of service. And that's not just for being a journalist. That's anything in this career. Technically, journalism was started off as a public service to the public, but always be of service. So remember all of those things. Be kind, be of service, all of that.
And it's crazy you say that, because that's one of the main things I model myself after is how can I affect others? Not just my life. How can I affect other people's life? How can I help other people out? Not more so people helping me, but I felt like I found my purpose. I think you wrote, I found my purpose, and my purpose is to help put others in the spotlight, help others, and do all I can for other people. And that's why I think a lot of people do support me, because they do know that I'm always looking out for everybody. I'm always supporting everybody, even though people may not support me as much, but I still don't let that get in the way, because I feel like, hey, I don't do this for people to support me. I do it to support others, because it's like, I feel like this is like my purpose. And another thing about the who you know, hey, like I said, and I wanted to piggyback off of that, who you know. Another thing that you didn't say, but you could say is that I would add on is don't burn bridges. Don't burn bridges. You never know when you need to cross that bridge. You never know when you need to cross that bridge. So it's always good to be, and that goes with being kind. You know, being kind. You know, hey, misunderstandings, get over them. Also with the who you know, like we have B Love in here. She said, hey, I need him to be my mentor. Hey, B Love, you know Mac a lot. I'll make that happen for you. So Kev, you got somebody out there that wants you to be a mentor. I'm gonna keep in touch with you about that. I'm gonna connect you with B Love. I'm gonna have her follow you. I'm gonna make sure she follows you. And I know you as a person. I know you'll be more than welcome to being a mentor to her. Because also the last thing before I get into my little game, I don't know what that is. Okay, before I get into my little game.
You know what?
Hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. You know what? I let me grab my charger because I'm back in one of the offices at my station right now, and my battery is dying on my phone. So let me grab my charger real quick.
Go ahead.
Can you give me 1 second?
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I will be right back, my friend. Just got to grab my charger.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Say you love me, you don't love me, why you change on me? Keep a on my side, it won't change on me. Shout out, please, that's my brother, he won't fold on me. And if it come down to it, he'll for me. This tricky, seeing how these other niggas move. Gotta keep my head on the swivel, gotta play it smooth. Know I can die anything, so I ain't afraid to lose. I'm knee deep up in this water, gotta stick and move.
All right, y'all. We're gonna play it one more time while he get his
5,
charger.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Say you love me, you don't love me, why you change on me? Keep a on my side, it won't change on me. Shout out, please, that's my brother, he won't fold on me. And if it come down to it, he'll for me. This tricky, seeing how these other niggas move. Gotta keep my head on the swivel, gotta play it smooth. Know I can die anything, so I ain't afraid to lose. I'm knee deep up in this water, gotta stick and move.
All right, okay. All right, he back.
All right, I am back. I am
All right.
back. We are Gucci.
We Gucci.
Whoa.
It's Gucci. R.I.P. JJ. It's Gucci.
Sorry about that.
Big said, where you get that? Hey, shout out to Craig for the intro. Yeah, that's the intermission, the intro, the outro, and intermission. R.I.P. 43. So let me see, where was I at with this?
You said something like you wanted to do before the game. You were talking about you were talking about not burning bridges with people, and then you were talking about me being a mentor to B Love, and then you were talking about a game you wanted to do coming up, and then I forgot, but you know,
let me
I'll
get
say
to
this.
I got my notes written down too. So what I did want to get into, I know we close to the end of March Madness. Well, it's April already. March Madness still ain't over. March Madness should end in March. I don't understand it. It should end in March. But who you got winning? I believe Michigan is left. I don't know who they playing against.
Well, it's funny you say that because the game is currently going on right now.
Oh, is that right?
You have UConn and Michigan. So I've been looking back and forth kind of at this, and it looks like as of right now, last night before I look at this on the show, last night I said UConn was going to win the championship. Right now, the score is 50-43. Michigan is leading UConn.
Okay, so I kind of had Michigan coming back. Michigan being back in the championship and doing their thing again. Back in the days, I used to be a Michigan fan and a UCLA fan. All right, so who do you got as far as the NBA winning the championship?
This year,
Because I don't know if you're a Kings fan. I know you be rooting for Sacramento and like the Beam and all that stuff, but the Beam ain't been lit in a long time. The Beam ain't been lit in a long time. So we're gonna scratch the Kings. Who you got winning the NBA ring?
I am going to go. Well, first of all, the good thing about the Beam not being lit, the Kings are saving on their electricity bill this whole season because they haven't had to use that thing at all. That beam is gathering rust up there. But
hey, they gonna light it. They gonna light it tomorrow, and it's gonna be red or something.
I know, right? But no, I honestly got OKC winning it again. I just have OKC going back to back. I mean, they're just they can kill you from so many different angles. I mean, did you see what they did to the Lakers? What was that last week?
Yeah.
I mean, OKC is just dominant on so many different ends. And I just really don't see another team taking them down, even from the East. I love what the Detroit. What was that?
You don't see San Antonio maybe with an upset on OKC?
I mean, San Antonio has done a lot. I mean, you have Victor Wembanyama playing like an MVP candidate. You got De'Aaron Fox, who's a former King, obviously. And San Antonio has done a phenomenal job this year. That's to take zero away from San Antonio. But I think San Antonio will win one again within the next few years. I just don't think it'll be this year. I think OKC has it this year. But who knows? An upset could happen. So I wouldn't be shocked if that did happen.
Oh, I think I missed a question for you too. Did I ask already? No, I think I missed this. What has been your biggest moment? What has been the biggest moment for you in your broadcasting career? I did miss that.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I can, I would say from everything from covering, I've covered 2 Super Bowls. That was an incredible experience. I had an interview that I did with Brock Purdy's mother. Brock Purdy, obviously, quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. I had an interview that I did with his mother that went viral, which was really cool. So from Super Bowls to covering NBA finals, I covered the finals when the Warriors were in it back in 2022. That was an incredible experience. Obviously I'll be able to cover the World Cup this summer. So, there's been some massive events, but I'll tell you this. Some of the things that I enjoy covering the most are high school sports. I love covering high school football, high school basketball, section championships at Golden One Center. High school sports is the backbone of the community. High school sports is the fabric of the community. So while it's cool to cover Super Bowls and all that stuff, and those are highlights, I would say my true highlights probably come from covering, actually, just a few months ago, St. Mary's football team. I went to Southern California to cover their state football championship. They won the first football championship in the history of Stockton just this year. So that was pretty exciting for St. Mary's and for Stockton in general.
Shout out St. Mary's. Yeah, they had a great team this year. But I'm from Edison, so it's hard for me to root for them. Next year we taking them down. Let's go E-House. Let's go Croc. Eric Crocker.
Hey, shout out to Booker Guyton.
Booker's at Franklin now, though.
I saw that. Yeah.
Franklin. And Eric Crocker, the new head coach at Edison, he was my first interview on the Not Afraid to Lose podcast couple months back. So I'm rooting for them boys over there. Definitely with my peoples over there, my nephew Vaughn and my fam bam Lil Zoe Ward. Before I let you go on this, before I get to the little game I got, I have been following you with this Big Brother thing. There was a kid that came into your life. You want to tell us a little bit about that, because that's very inspirational and very big to me, because we need more people like you doing that for the youngsters.
Well, thank you for saying that. It's one of the things that's really one of the pride and joys of my life is being a big brother. As you know, with young Black males, they are disproportionately affected when it comes to growing up in homes where there's not a father figure present, or not just that, but not even a positive male role model. So I always felt compelled to try to do something about that. And I think it's one thing to sit back and talk about, oh, well, the problem with black people is there's not enough fathers in the homes. Like, yeah, it's easy for people to be critical of that. But my question is, what are you doing about that? What are you doing to help out? What are you doing to curb? What are you doing to prevent that from happening? So I've always felt compelled to help out. And like I told you earlier in this, one of my favorite quotes in life, God determines greatness on not how many people serve you, but by how many people you serve. One of the greatest things you can do, Mac, in this life, one of the greatest legacies you can leave is not being a sportscaster, not being a coach, not being a Hall of Famer, but by the legacy you leave on earth by giving back and the lives that you have changed and impacted. So I found out about Big Brothers. This was back when I was living in LA. I was going to a church there. And I was going to a church, and they were looking for Big Brothers. So I first became a Big Brother when I was young. I was like around 2008. And I was a Big Brother for about 7 years. That little that I had then, he's already a college graduate and all that other stuff, making me feel old. Then when I moved to Sacramento for this job, I became involved with Big Brothers again in the greater Sacramento region. My little brother, Braylon, I got with him when he was 9 years old or 8 years old. He's going to be turning 16 in July. So it's been an absolute blessing to be his big brother, to be his mentor, to be a positive role model in his life, to be someone that he can look up to. Because when I was growing up in Stockton, I didn't always have a big brother per se. I mean, I have a biological big brother and he's great. But when I say a big brother, like a mentor in my life that I can look up to, that I can go to for advice, who can tell me right from wrong, who can inspire me. I didn't really have that. So now I did have a father. I'm not sitting there saying that. I had a great father and my dad was phenomenal. But my parents split when I was like 8 years old. So I didn't live with him. But anyway, that was important. That was really important to me. And, I think that the best way to create change is to be the change that you want to see. And I'm absolutely blessed being a big brother. It is my pride and joy. My title as big brother is more important than my title as sportscaster. It's that important to me. And I'm blessed for the opportunity.
And that's what I try to lead as being a coach. Like, I'm not a coach. I'm more of a mentor, a life coach, not a football coach. I'm more of a life coach. And I find it, I don't know if you feel the same way, if you get the same type of kids I'll be around, but I find it quite difficult because it's a battle because they're so easily influenced by like the music and different things like that. So I find it harder trying to pull them this way when the music in the streets is pulling them that way. And back when I was growing up in neighborhoods, we had big homies. Those was our big brothers. Nowadays, we don't have big homies. We don't have the people, even though they may have been looked at as bad people, the drug dealers, the gangsters, but still some of those people were good men because they would tell the youngsters that was good in sports, hey, man, get off the block, man. Stick to sports. We had that growing up. They don't have that anymore. They don't have father figures in the home. Mothers is out doing their thing. Grandmas ain't the same no more. Grandmas is grandmas at 35 now. So it's not the same as when we grew up. So it's very hard to mentor these kids and keep them on the right path. And sometimes you kind of gotta blame the parents, like coaching now at the spring football team I'm coaching. And like when I tell you these kids be cussing, and I don't like, normally it took me years coaching before I ever cussed in front of kids, because my whole thing is, hey, I don't cuss in front of y'all. Y'all shouldn't be cussing in front of me. And I have started here and there letting some words out. That's a part of coaching. I feel like, okay, yeah, that's a part of coaching. But I messed around and asked the kids the wrong question a couple weeks ago. I said, man, do y'all cuss in front of y'all parents like this? And then I caught myself. I said, never mind, because I know some of y'all do, So that didn't work now. But it's definitely hard. But that's the main thing with me with coaching youth football is why I fell in love with it, because it's like I'm able to mentor these kids and help put them on the right path. And that's why I haven't went high school yet. I do want to go high school, but I always tell people like, man, the 12, the 14, that's when kids are making that left turn, By then, it's if they already left, they already went left in high school. So it's harder to pull them all the way back right. So I try to get them young to make them go that right path at a young age. So in high school, they're still on the right path. So do you find that challenging to you as a big brother and with dealing with the music and different influences on other, not just the music, but other kids doing certain things? So do you find that challenging? Because I do.
Yeah, well, first of all, you got to realize that kids nowadays have so many distractions out there. I mean, for example, we didn't have these when we were in high school. Well, maybe cell phones came out when we were like maybe juniors or seniors. I remember
we was on minutes, so you couldn't play on cell phones like that.
Like cell phones were not computers like they are now when we were coming up, So the problem with kids now is there's just so much distractions. And even if they're not being influenced from their peers, they're being influenced from what they see on this. So that's making it even more challenging with students and things of that sort, or young people, shall I say, is they want to do, kids are always going to want to do what everybody else is doing. They're always going to have a desire to be with the in crowd and to do what everybody else is doing on the in crowd, because they want to feel like they belong. They want to feel accepted. So if everybody is smoking weed, guess what? They want to start smoking weed. If everybody is drinking, they're going to want to start drinking. If everybody is rapping and, flashing guns, they're going to want to start doing that. So they become what what the culture is. And, that's a whole other story on, where we got to watch out on some of these people we idolize in our community, some of our musicians and things of that sort, because I do believe a lot of that stuff is destructive. And I'm not going to sit here and act all holier than thou. When I was growing up, I was listening to The Chronic by Dr. Dre. I was listening to Doggy Style by Snoop Dogg. I was listening to Bone, Ice Cube. So, of course, I was listening to music that you can say probably wasn't the best for me at that age, because if you know anything about Snoop or Dre at that time, it was G's up, hose down, all of this destructive music, shall we say. But I think that sometimes the kids become a product of what they listen to. So if you're listening to somebody who's talking about doing coke or, being promiscuous, you're going to embody that and do that, because that not only is that what you're listening to, that's what your friends and everyone else is doing. So to answer your question, it's been a heck of a challenge. My little actually got expelled from, well, I shouldn't say expelled. It wasn't for fighting or doing drugs, but it was because his grades. He couldn't keep his grades up, so he had to go into a continuation school. He now is working hard and is on his way to graduating. But there were times his mother would say, Kevin, I caught him, he came home today and he smelled like weed. Or I saw this. So she was like, I need you to talk to him about these kind of things. So yes, I've had to have very uncomfortable conversations with him about drugs, about women, about sex, about all of these things that are important and all of these things that we need to have with the youth. Because sometimes people will say, oh, that's taboo. I'm not talking to a 14 or 15-year-old about drugs or sex or alcohol or things of that sort. They shouldn't know about that. That's true. But let me tell you this. If you don't talk to them about that, they're going to learn about it from their peers, or they're going to learn about it from an unhealthy source. Mm-hmm. So it's much better that you be the one to talk to them about it versus they learn about it from another 14-year-old kid or somebody else who's talking about it in destructive manners. So I've had to have conversations with him about
They're
that.
Easily influenced with everything. I just noticed too, when, I think a couple weeks ago, I'm like at football practice. I'm like it's like 4 or 5 players. They got like sweats or windbreakers, and they cut them to like where they damn near capris, and they over the pass. I said, what's up with this style? What like who doing this? And they said somebody, one of the NFL players or somebody did it. And I'm like, so all y'all trying to be like everybody else? Like nobody's want to be original. Nobody want to have their own style. So it's all of the. I'm like, man, bro, like, come on, man. You got to dare to be different sometime. Why you want to be like them? Why you want to be in two? A couple of other players, like definitely one of my players, the Ashawn Gentry or whatever, you know, he has that running back stand up straight. My running backs is doing that. I'm like, bro, can we get in the running back stance? Like, so they're so easily influenced with everything in life. So we definitely, it definitely makes it hard. It definitely makes it hard. But hey, I don't give up on them. But just knowing, like, I just finally, as a coach, finally started letting my teams listening to the rap music and the certain music at games and stuff. I'm like, man, hey, coach, I'm talking to myself, coach, they listen to this stuff anyway. Like, you might as well. But hearing the stuff, I was like, oh, yeah, we ain't listening to none of that this season. Ain't none of that getting played. No, don't bring no boom boxes. We bring all that. We playing R&B. Like, yeah, we not doing none of that because I can't let y'all go down that road. I can't be a part of that. But let me get to this last segment so I can get you out of here. So I do this either or game. And since you are a sportscaster, broadcaster, I mainly made it about sportcasting. So I want to know either or. I'm going to say 2 names. You tell me who you rocking with. All right. I'm going to start it off with the main 2 that's been the main 2 big guys in sports broadcasting. Skip Bayless or Stephen A. Smith?
That's hard because there's things about both of those guys I like, and there's things about both of those guys I dislike. But I'll take Stephen A.
Stephen A. Stephen A. is very controversial. Skip is too. But hey, I love Skip. I love Skip. Like I said, Skip for an old white dude. Skip is very entertaining to me. I be locked in to Skip, but I do be locked in to Stephen A. He's like a. You know, he came from the Stuart Scott era too. He dared to be different, and it worked for him. So I'm happy of Stephen A. All right, let's get to these ladies. Molly Quorum or Joy Taylor?
I'll say Molly because remember all that stuff that came out about Joy Taylor? I was like, oh, you know. So I'll go with Molly.
Her sleeping her way to the top.
You know, I don't want to judge anybody, but I'll just go with
Joy. Fine, though, man. Joy, fine, man. I got to go with Joy on that one. All right. I get it, though. You going Eric Bouchard or Max Kellerman?
God, that's hard because I love both of those guys. I really love both of those guys. This is hard. Godly. I'll give Max the edge because I just said Steven over Skip, and there were times that Max would shut down Steven on his own show. So I'll give Max the edge.
Okay. I like that. I like them both too. Max, his expertise is mostly boxing, but
I know
Eric Bouchard is more polished. I mean, Eric Bouchard is more basketball too. How you going with OG Scott Van Pelt or Shannon Sharp?
I'll take Scott Van Pelt just because this guy is just one of the greatest ever at being a sportscaster. From the show he hosts at midnight to I love Shannon. I mean, I listen to Shannon's podcast. He's done a lot, but I got to go with SVP just because of his legendary status.
Yeah,
and
more legendary.
A lot longer than Shannon.
Yeah, Shannon getting up there, but definitely okay. How about these other ladies, Michelle Tafoya or Hannah Storm?
I like Michelle Tafoya. I've always, because I used to watch Sunday Night Football all the time. And I think she was really good at the job. I know she has political aspirations now, but I'll go with Michelle Tafoya. She's really good at what she does.
All right, so let's go with the football broadcasting. You going with Chris Collinsworth or Tony Romo?
You know, there's a guy here's a guy that's really good at what he does.
Oh, you sound like Chris already.
Give me Chris Collinsworth. I'll take Chris Collinsworth.
You sound like Chris. I know where that come from. Tony pretty good though at broadcasting. He do better at broadcasting than he did at quarterbacking.
No, Tony is good. I love his expertise. He's really good at articulating schemes and plays. So Tony is good, but I'm gonna give Chris the edge.
All right, let me go with two of the OG Black brothers. You going with because I get these two mixed up sometimes. You going James Brown or Kurt Menefee?
I'll do Kurt Menefee.
Kurt Menefee.
I love his voice. I love his projection. James Brown is a bad dude too, though.
Yeah.
You know,
James Brown's definitely bad. But yeah,
I right there, but I'm gonna go with Kurt Menefee.
I get them mixed up sometimes.
I know. They're easy. I know. They don't all look alike, okay, Mac? We don't all look alike. They do. To me, they do. Like, it's okay as a black man, me saying it. Well, they look like. All right, the last one, and it's reality, too. You going with Hoops or Delicious? Hoops all day.
Oh, man, Hoops, baby girl.
Hoops
Delicious,
all day.
though. Delicious, boy. But I definitely going to go with Hoops too. All right, so give me your Mount Rushmore. You got 4. We're gonna do 2 Mount Rushmores, and I'm gonna let you get up out of here. So you got your Mount Rushmore's sportscasters, and then I need your Mount Rushmore local athletes.
Okay, so Mount Rushmore for sportscasters, of course, Stuart Scott. I'm gonna put him on there. Scott Van Pelt. I'm gonna put him on there. I'll also put on there Neil Everett. I'm going to throw him on there. I'm also going to put on there Stan Verrett.
Stan Verrett. All right, that's your 4?
That's my 4. That's my 4.
Stuart, Scott, Neil, and Stan. All right, I like that. I can't get mad at that.
The young kids probably don't know who those guys are, but they're
at all. They didn't come up in it. They didn't come up in that era. So let's go with your local athletes. You're from Stockton, so I'm sure you covered a lot of the Stockton high schools stuff. So who would you have in your 4 Mount Rushmore was Stockton athletes? You can go back. You can go back, or you can go current, or however you feel to do it.
Okay, cool. I'll go with Brandon Cooks. I'll go with Chelsea Gray. I'll go with Gabe Vincent. And for the I'll go with, because I know I just mentioned people who are currently playing. I'll go with somebody from back in the day, Webster Slaughter.
Webster Slaughter. Okay. I like that. So no Raleigh Brown, no Jonah Coleman, no Frank Strong, no none of that. I like Chelsea too. You putting Chelsea. Hold on, let me ask you this real quick. You said Chelsea. Far as high school career go, far as high school career, St. Mary's, you put Chelsea over Dominique Banks? Chelsea made it further.
She made what 2 or 3 state championships with St. Mary's?
Dominique got a couple too, I believe.
Dominique did.
Dominique was, to me, that's like the St. Mary's female GOAT. Even though she didn't go on to the WNBA like Chelsea, and but as far as high school wise, Dominique like the female GOAT of high school basketball.
Yeah. But
I accept your Mount Rushmore because I would put Chelsea over her because Chelsea had a longer career.
Mm-hmm.
But balling, if I had one high school game, Give me Dominique.
Ah,
Give me Dominique. All right, before we go
Also-
out of here, any last shout outs and let people know let people know where they can get in contact with you at, your handles, your Instagram handles, your Facebook handles.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, shout out to Stockton, the 209, Bear Creek High School, but also shout out to every school in Stockton: Franklin, Edison, St. Mary's, Stagg, all of them. Even the ones that weren't there when I was growing up. It was Chavez and McNair, Brookside Christian, all of them schools, man. I really think that's what makes Stockton special. The community, the people, everyone I've connected with there. I bleed Stockton. Shout out to Jason Lee, who came back to serve as vice mayor for Stockton. Shout out to Michael Tubbs, the former mayor of Stockton, who Franklin graduate. So, just shout out to everybody, politics, sports, anyone who's come out of Stockton and did something. I tip my hat to you guys. Also, shout out to all the coaches in Stockton. I think a lot of us young athletes growing up in Stockton are where we're at today because of a coach who got us there. So I want to shout out all the coaches in Stockton, whether you're a Pop Warner coach, a high school basketball, football, what have you, all the coaches in Stockton. Shout out to my Pop Warner coach, Brian Gray, who was my Pop Warner coach for the Northwest Trojans. He's now the athletic director at Lincoln High School.
People hate for Gray. You like Gray? Them high school people don't like Gray.
Well, he was my Pop Warner coach. I can't speak about him being a high school, but I sure love him.
I mess with Gray though. I'm cool with Gray. Shout out Gray though.
Yeah, he was a great coach, Pop Warner wise. But and yeah, last but not least, Max, shout out to you, man. The platform that you built, the podcast that you built, the coaching that you're doing, you're leading these young minds, you're mentoring these young minds, and I think you're one of the success stories out of Stockton. You're someone who grew up in those streets, and now you're giving it back, paying it forward, and you're doing positive things. And people are watching.
Yeah, I'm still broke though. I ain't no success story. I'm still broke. Hey, ain't paying yet, but hey, maybe one day. But I appreciate it.
Money isn't everything. Remember, it's always important than the destination. Yeah. So.
Definitely, man. But it was good having you on. I remember I ran into you at the Lakers Kings game.
Yeah.
Last year before last. I remember that moment with you over there. Also, man, I think you like the only big time sportscaster from Stockton, man. So definitely got to give you your flowers, man. That's legendary in itself. Like I can't think of no other Stockton alumni that's a sportscaster, definitely on a news station or anywhere actually. So shout out to you for showing the kids, the youth out here that you could go into that. Like I said, I interviewed a young lady. Shout out to her, my boy Charlie Chain's daughter, and she said that's what she wanted to do. So I definitely want to get her in touch with you for sure, because she can learn a thing or two from you. So I just appreciate, man, you coming on, man, last minute type of stuff, man, and always being supportive of the city, always repping Stockton. I love the people that make it and still show love to Stockton. Because to me, you made it, bro. To me, you made it. You on TV every day. You doing your thing. So to me, you made it. Hey, I almost made it. I was this close, but I didn't make it. So shout out to you. And also Jason Lee. Like, that's why I really mess with Jason Lee tough, because you made it out of Stockton and you came back to give back. Same way as I love Lavelle Hawkins and Tim Brown, the ones that made it out and they came back to pour into the city. And that's what I'm all about. So that's the only reason why I ever wanted to make it, was to come back and pour back into my city. And I didn't make it, but hey, it's not over. It's not over. I'm in another field. So I appreciate your time, man. Until next time, man, peace and blessings to you, man. Continue to prosper and doing what you're doing, bro.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on here. And remember, Mac, making it is all subjective. Remember, it's all about the journey. I don't feel like I've made it because I still feel like I'm on my journey. And I'm going to tell you the same thing. Remember, success, making it doesn't have an expiration date. Some people make it when they're in their 50s, some people in their 60s, some people in their 20s. Everybody's journey is different. You're on the path that you need to be on, and God has you right where you need to be at this point in time, Mac, and he will get you where it is you need to go. So enjoy the journey. Know that you are inspiring people looking up to you, and continue grinding and continue making a difference. I'm sure as hell proud of you.
Definitely, man, because I had a talk with Tim Brown a year or two ago, and he told me, man, regular people, real people, man, they don't really start getting paid till they're in their 40s.
Amen.
Okay. I got time. I got a little time. I got 6. I'm only 44, so I got a little time. So I ain't
got
giving
plenty of time, bro.
I ain't giving up. So appreciate you, man. One love, man. Keep doing your thing, Kev.
All right, God bless. I'll be in touch.
God bless you too.
All
Hey,
right.
y'all. This has been another. Get him out of here real quick. Hold on. I'm gonna exit you out. All right, y'all. This has been another episode of the Not Afraid to Lose Sports Podcast. Great interview with Kevin Johns, man. Stockton's own, man, doing his thing at ABC Channel 10. Y'all can catch him on ABC Channel 10 daily, being a local sportscaster, interviewing a lot of kids, high school kids. Catch him at some of the games, doing his thing. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in today, y'all. Make sure y'all keep supporting every Monday right here on the Not Afraid to Lose Sports Podcast. We're going to end it with this.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Say you love me, you don't love me, why you change on me? Keep a on my side, it won't change on me. Shout out, please, that's my brother, he won't fold on me. And if it come down to it, he up for me. This tricky, seeing how these other niggas move. Gotta keep my head on the swivel, gotta play it smooth. Know I can die anything, so I ain't afraid to lose. I'm knee deep up in this water, gotta stick and move.